What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Down the Line podcast. I am once again, as always, joined by my boy Ethan. How are you doing on this fine Thursday?
We're doing great. How about you?
Man, I'm always doing good. I'm always doing good, man.
That's good to
We
hear.
got some stuff to talk about today. Before we
do.
get to the main bread and butter of the pod, we gotta have a discussion here, right? LA, Hollywood, something needs to be figured out over there. They lost 2 no-hitters in the ninth in the span of, 3 days?
They lost one of the games, too.
That's ridiculous. I was watching that first one. I don't know if I told you about this. I was watching that first one, the Yamamoto one. I turned it on pretty late, like 8th inning or something like that. And then when Jackson Holliday hit the home run, it was 2 outs. Was it 1 strike or 2 strikes he had on him?
I think it was only 1 strike.
It was 1 strike? Okay. Regardless, 1 batter away, in theory, like 1 or 2 pitches away from finishing the deal. And then the guy takes some yard, and I said, you know what? I'll turn off the game. I think I switched on to another game, because I was like, yeah, you know what? This is done. This is still whatever. I want to see if we get the no-hitter, but that's done, right? I saw they yanked them, and I was like, yeah, whatever, right? It is what it is. I can't remember what other game I turned on. And then later, I checked my phone, and I see that the Orioles won the game, like 4-3, and I was like, what? I was like, hold on, what happened?
Yeah, so I was in a Discord call.
Genuinely
during
was
this game,
mad.
and you get the notification if you're in a Discord call. It's like, yo, no way, let me turn it on, stream it for the boys. So one of my friends did that. We were watching it, and it's like, oh, there it goes, whatever. And then he turns it off because it's like, they're just gonna win the game probably.
Yeah, of course.
And then it's like 10 minutes later or whatever, and he goes, oh, 2 guys on or whatever, and I'm like, the game's still going on. I was genuinely stunned that the game hadn't ended yet, and then turned it back on and saw them win. Yeah, and I mean, obviously it hurts, but it hurts even more when you haven't been playing the strongest baseball that you've played at the time. Right now, they're obviously on a little 4-game winning streak, but prior to that, it was definitely looking kind of grim for the Dodgers, looking like the Padres could come out and steal the division, but obviously they haven't been playing great too.
Exactly, and they're a team who obviously they've still been really good. They're first in their division. Obviously they're still really good. They're still one of the better teams in baseball. But I don't think it's unfair to say that they've kind of underperformed expectations. Part of that is also, at least in my mind, I expected this team to just be absolutely just nuts starting the year. I legitimately thought that was an all-time great roster, and they've just grayed out to simply just pretty good, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, 98 wins last year. I thought they would kind of build on that and maybe be 102, 3, 4, 5 win team, not kind of go down to a team that's looking like they're gonna probably win 92, 93.
Yeah, because legitimately, number one, that rotation. I mean, granted, their rotation's still been ridiculous this year, but they legitimately look like they had a super rotation. You were looking at
for sure.
Glasnow, Snell, Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki might have been your 4 starter. Kershaw Kershaw would have been your 6 in a 6-man rotation, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, but it's the same problems for a lot of these guys in the Dodgers rotation. They just couldn't really stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. And then they lost another no-hitter in the ninth 2 days later. Now that game they didn't bottle,
no,
but they still lost. That was just crazy to see that they lost another one in the ninth. And you know what? I came across this tweet and it's really interesting. It was from, hold on, let me go to my bookmarks on Twitter. Shout out Sarah Langs of MLB.com. So it was teams to win after being no-hit through 8 2/3 innings or more since the expansion era, which starts in 1961. And the Dodgers were involved in a surprising amount of these. So obviously there was the Orioles versus Dodgers one, that one. The Yankees did it against the Brewers 2 years ago. 2 years ago yesterday, actually. The Pirates did it against the Dodgers in 2017, August 23rd. The Dodgers did it against the Padres on July 9th, 2011. Then you go all the way back to 1997, May 16th, the Braves did it against the Cardinals. Then July 26, 1991, the Dodgers did it against the Montreal Expos. Then you go all the way back again, September 24th, 1975, the Cubs did it against the Mets. Then you go back again, September 13th, 1969, Atlanta did it against Houston, and then the ninth time, I guess the first time since like in this time period would have been June 14, 1965. The Mets did it against the Reds. So it's only happened a handful of times since the expansion era like actually started. And if you were really keen on that, I listed 9 teams. I'm pretty sure there was 9 instances right there. The Dodgers were in almost half of them, which is kind of insane, and they've been on both sides admittedly, but that's like kind of weird. It's like that. Do you remember when everyone was tweeting like a few years ago? It was like, oh, over the last 10 games, the White Sox are 5-5. Over the last 20, they're 10-10. Over the last like 2,000 games, they're like 1,000 or 1,000 or something like that. And they're just like perpetually 500. It was like that sort of really weird historical thing that this happens to always be biting them.
And one of the teams that you mentioned isn't even a team anymore.
Yeah, the Montreal Expos do not exist anymore. Well, they're the Washington Nationals now. They've relocated, rebranded, all that, but they do not exist in that form.
Did you hear the announcement yesterday of the Expos announcement?
What was the Expos announcement yesterday? I didn't see anything.
There's a Netflix thing coming, special document. I don't know exactly if it's like a 1-part thing or if it's like a mini series, whatever. It's called "Who Killed the Montreal Expos," and it actually looks very interesting. It includes interviews with Pedro Martinez, Vladimir Guerrero Sr., Larry Walker, and Felipe Alou, as well as more, I would assume. So could really go into depth as to, as we see kind of stories we may never have heard before about, what happened with the Expos, how it kind of failed, like with the kind of the end there. And it's cool to hear from such, 3 of the greatest players to ever play the game talk about it. So that's going to be interesting.
No, that's interesting. No, I missed that. I'm gonna have to peep that
when
it comes out. What's it called?
Looks it's called "Who Killed the Montreal Expos."
You said that was the name.
Yeah, October 21st, I believe it said it released.
October 20. All right, we're marking that in the calendar. I'm definitely gonna peep that when that drops.
Yeah, it's gonna hopefully be good.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Some other things that have been happening recently. Shout out Anthony Rizzo, man. He officially retired, or announced his retirement. Shout out to him, man.
Yeah.
He was like.
He was a fun player to watch.
He was such a fun player. Probably will go down as... I have a feeling he's going to go down as one of the more underrated players of this generation. Because even when he wasn't, like, peak of his powers in, like, those, like, 2015, 16, 17, whatever with the Cubs, he was still...
He's probably Hall of Very Good.
Probably in between, like, Hall of Very Good and Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people would probably... I don't think he quite has it to be a Hall of Famer, but I think a lot of people would like discredit him so fast, and it's like, just give him a little bit of credit. Part of that is he didn't have like the ridiculous longevity. He played 13 years, which albeit that's still a pretty that's still a good career, but it's not like the longest of careers. He finished with 36 WAR according to Fangraphs, 35.9 technically, but we'll round up.
He was a perennial 30-plus home run guy, gets you 100 RBIs, WRC plus around 140. So when he was in his peak, this is like the mid to late 2010s. He was one of the best hitters in the sport.
From 2014 to 2019, he had a 141 WRC plus, a 26.8 WAR. By the way, that is over just a 6-season span. He hit just under 200 home runs. Oh, not just under. 179 home runs. He had a slash line of 284, 388, 513. Rizzo was he was one of those players, man. He was so much fun. You remember all the Brizzo stuff that they would do?
Oh yeah.
All that was so fun. I miss those. I miss those two.
Those Cub teams were fun.
Those were such cool teams. Those teams were awesome, man. I miss those teams. I can't lie. And yeah, he was generally just one of the best first basemen of ball during that time. During that span that I mentioned, the only first basemen who accumulated more WAR than him were Paul Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman. So more than Joey Votto, more than Jose Abreu, Miguel Cabrera. Well, Miguel Cabrera for a good amount for some of that time was kind of washed, but he was one of the best first basemen in baseball. I'm pretty sure he has a few Gold Gloves to his name. I'm pretty sure he has 2 or 3, doesn't he? Or am I?
I'm not.
I'm pretty sure he has a couple. I'm pretty sure he has a couple.
I know he definitely has. He has 4 of them actually.
He has 4.
I knew he was a Gold Glove winner.
He had a Platinum Glove one year too. So shout out to him, man. Shout out to Rizzo. Also helps he was on that 2016 team, which again is one of the best teams of this generation. One of the most memorable teams, I think, like in a long time, to be honest, and even before that.
For sure.
Like, they are just a ridiculously memorable team. Shout out Anthony Rizzo. Even his time after the Cubs, like, he was still solid with the Yankees for a little bit when they got him.
Yeah,
I feel like
I mean the first year he was there, like when he came part way, he was good. But then the second year, like his first full year with the Yankees,
first like year and a half, he was really
very,
good.
very, very good.
And then like he had like some concussion injury, like head injury or something like that in like 2023.
Yeah.
And like I think he got hit really hard in like a tag, if I'm remembering right. And then I don't think he really was ever the same after that. Retired kind of early. He was only 34 last time he played, but. Hey man, shout out Anthony Rizzo. And you know what? We're gonna stay on the little bit of topic of Yankees and stuff. Judge is climbing that home run ladder, man. He's top 5 in Yankee history. He's probably gonna finish top 3 by the end of his career, maybe even top 2.
I mean,
but
it's crazy to think that he is 33 years old. I mean, he's only been in the league for I think this is his 10th season.
Because he came in 20. You remember 2016 when him and Tyler Austin they came up and they were tearing shit up. And Gary Sanchez. Well, sorry, Judge wasn't really tearing shit up then. He really didn't have a good start then. But
yeah, it was his rookie year, his first full season where he was just.
Gary Sanchez was killing the game. They were calling them the baby bombers. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, could you imagine he came up earlier than like 24, 25 years old?
Because
imagine he had a full career, like he came up 21, 22. He gets those extra 3 years. I mean, that could have been another like
23
for all we know.
Because his rookie year, he was what 25.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, you know, he could have. I don't know. He'd be pushing for more than just the Yankees' all-time leader in home runs at that point.
If he even came up in like 2014, and like I'm not even saying he had to be like MVP candidate like by the second he stepped out of the gate, we'd actually be having much more serious conversations about him right now.
If in 14, 15, 16, if he were to come up in 14, he averaged 20 home runs a year for those 3 years, which for a guy like Aaron Judge is not like a tall ask. That right there puts him over 400 already.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That puts an extra 60 on his thing. He's a little over. What is he? 410, 420, something like that. Yeah, man. I have a feeling. I don't know where Judge is like gonna finish all time in terms of like WAR and like counting stats and everything. I have a feeling the counting stats, like people are gonna look at that, assuming that there's not like a significant change in mindset, which I think people still are going to look at longevity and counting stats to an extent, but I have a feeling he might get a little bit underrated in all-time conversations just because of, like, he came up and his real rookie year was, like, 25, because he was, like, an old rookie, of course. But he has a legitimate argument of, like, he had having the best peak for a right-handed hitter ever. He has an argument. Let's put it out there. Argument.
Yeah.
There is a case to be made that he is the best right-handed hitter ever. Granted, a lot of that is because like a lot of the greats that you think of, like Ted Williams, Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, you notice something in common with those guys? They're all lefties.
Yeah, they are.
Not to diminish Judge though, like, he's absolutely ridiculous now, and even last year when he had like a 220 WRC plus and 22 and all of that stuff. But shout out to him, bro, because he's been absolutely ridiculous.
I mean. Obviously, Willie Mays, I mean, one of the best players ever.
Absolutely.
And even more recently, Mike Trout.
Yep.
I mean, Mike Trout is a guy who had injuries not kind of forced him to play in such little amount of games over the last 5 years or so. We're talking top, like, you know, guaranteed top 5 player for the most part. That's what it was looking like.
He went from like legitimately like actual like GOAT conversations to being like, it's sad, man, because I'm sure you remember, like, you know, when they were really hyping it up, like 2019, 2018, or especially around that time. Like he was in GOAT conversations like already. It was like by the time he finished his career, he'll be, you know, one of the top 10 players of all time minimum. That might have even been a little conservative to say top 10, and that just shows you how good his prime was. But listen, everyone who was there, they know, they understand prime Mike Trout, man. Prime Mike Trout was different, man.
Yeah, these kids on like TikTok and Instagram have no idea how good he was.
Listen, y'all are growing up with your PCAs, y'all are growing up with your Juan Soto. Listen, y'all don't understand. Y'all simply won't get it, and that's okay. You don't have to get it. because we
Yeah,
will get it.
just like how personally us, we weren't there for like the '90s, for example. Like, yeah, we can sit there and look at the stats, but like, I don't know, we don't know exactly how good Edgar Martinez was because we didn't get to watch him play,
Hmm.
something like that. Like, you know what I mean? We probably
Hmm.
have different opinions on these guys had we grown up with them.
Hmm.
So it makes sense as to why people who are outdated don't really see it that way because the recency bias is the strongest drug in sports.
Hmm.
That's a fact where people put so much stock into how they've done the last couple of years rather than what they've done as a whole. So these younger fans who didn't really watch Trout's peak will look at it and say, "Wow, this guy barely plays. How is he good?" Whatever, something like that. And not saying that's the right opinion, but it's understandable. I can see
I wouldn't
how they
blame
would come to
someone
that.
in 30 years for thinking that, being like, oh, look at this longevity and blah blah blah. I couldn't necessarily blame
Yeah,
someone.
exactly.
Also, you wanna hear something kind of crazy?
Yes,
Like
always.
Aaron Judge, he debuted 4 years after Trout did. I'm counting like even like their very short stints in 2015 and
Yeah,
2011 respectively. He's less than a year younger than Mike Trout. Mike Trout's not even a full year older than
yeah. Like
him.
that's another thing that's crazy.
Like Judge is low key approaching Unk status right now, which is crazy to say, but Trout's been in here a lot longer, and he's like barely older than him. That's a crazy thing to think about, man. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, Judge is only like 30 something home runs off. Like
That's
that's
another thing that's
crazy.
crazy. That's another thing that's crazy. With all due respect to Trout, he was never hitting 60. He was never hitting 60, and Judge Danner did it twice.
It just goes to show how, talented Aaron Judge is as
Absolutely,
a
man.
hitter.
He's just absolutely ridiculous, man. Um, yeah. Also, I want to circle back to something that we were talking about before. We were talking about like how the Dodgers were like blowing those games and everything. They were low key bottling.
Yeah.
The Orioles, like they got double magic recently because they had what I
Yeah.
think 4 walk-offs in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean the Orioles are definitely, playing good right now, but at what cost?
They're turning up. I don't know if it's the right time of year, but they're low key turning up right now, which is like very interesting. It would have been nice for them if they would have done this like 2 months ago, but
Yeah, right now they currently have the seventh best odds at winning the lottery. And had they not have gone on this little run they've gone, they'd probably be at 4 or 5 right now.
yeah, low key. If I'm an Orioles fan, I'm like, well, okay, of course, this is
I mean,
it's
a
fun, baseball
baseball
to
lottery is
watch.
not nearly the same as any other lottery
That
because
as
it's like,
well. It's not nearly. It's not like basketball, or I'm assuming hockey is a lot more slam dunk than
yeah, where like
baseball is
guys are
too.
making like an impact right away. So it's
Yeah,
definitely, but it's just kind of funny seeing it. Like if I'm a fan, it's probably fun to see, but it's like, does it really matter anymore?
yeah. That's kind of the thing. I'd probably be like a little cheese because like on one hand you're right. It doesn't really matter as much as like some other sports, but higher is still obviously better. Also, there was another crazy thing. The other day, um, I saw this tweet. It was when Paul Skeens was pitching against the Orioles. It was pitching was the first pick in 23, batting the first pick in
Yeah,
22, catching the first pick in 21. I think he was pitching.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty cool to
yeah,
see.
that was cool to see how they've all like turned out, and obviously they're all still really young. Skeens is ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and he's younger than me, so like,
I
it's
hate that.
crazy.
I hate that I'm at that point in life right now where like a lot of these guys are now like I'm older than some of these guys that are coming in the league. I
Yeah,
actually hate that.
you watch an NBA draft, every single guy that's getting drafted, yeah, like it's
I
getting to
hate
that
that.
point where it's like
I'm not.
everyone's getting drafted. It's
I'm
like,
not quite there for like Paul Skeens. He's still like
but
2 years
yeah,
older than me. But like when Wemby got drafted in like the NBA, I was like, dude, this guy's 3 weeks older than me. I don't like this. I don't like this
yeah,
stage of life right now.
yeah, definitely. It's just makes you feel old. That's for sure.
It does, bro. Listen. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for Unk status. I really don't need this in my life.
Yeah, but we see this happen. Unfortunately, that's life,
We do. Listen,
But
it hits everybody. It hits everybody at a certain
it
point, and it's
does.
hitting us now. And no, you know what's really gonna be crazy when we are eventually at a point where we're older than players that are retiring. That's gonna hit. That's gonna
Yeah,
hit like a truck.
yeah. When we're looking back, we're in like our 40s, and it's like, oh shit, I didn't do anything with my life. But hey, this guy that retired, who's 2 years younger than me, had a career 70 WAR. Yeah,
Man, I'm not.
God,
I don't know if I'm ready.
yeah. I don't know. Thankfully, we're a bit far away from that, but I mean, it still doesn't, make us feel any younger.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't need anything like that. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about before we jump into like the main portion of
Well, I
our?
think we can go into that, which is I guess you can set the stage here.
Yeah. So, our main topic for today. So we still have some baseball left to go. We have just over 2 weeks of ball left, about 2.5 weeks. But we have seen enough things where we can judge the season more or less on a lot of scales.
Yes.
One of the things that, or what we are going to be discussing today, and one of the major things that happens every season. Every season, there's always really big things that stick out. You expect certain things to happen during the season, and some things really catch you off guard. We are going to go through our biggest surprises of the 2025 MLB season. And again, we've had enough of the season so far where we can pretty confidently judge. And whatever happens the rest of the season probably is not going to change what we're going to say here very much.
Yeah.
And this is not just strictly on how this team did versus how they were preseason. This can be like any like league-wide trend that we've been seeing, specific players, specific teams. It can be anything. It can be broad, it can be specific. Obviously, we don't know what the other person has said. I have a few things that I've chosen. I'm sure Ethan has as well. I'm going to start off with one of mine is the amount of like really weird and surprising like stolen base seasons we've seen from guys. I'm specifically looking at guys like Juan Soto with a 30-30 season. Josh Naylor has stolen a lot of bases. We've seen a lot of like really unexpected like base stealers, especially in like some of those guys especially are like they're sluggers. You don't really expect a guy like Juan Soto to come out and steal. I'm pretty sure he hit 30-30 like last night or something like that or the day before. You don't expect that. That's like weird. You know what I mean? You don't really expect that from,
especially like Josh Naylor too, like a guy like him, like you said, like that's just and I mean, he like ever since he went to Seattle, it's been even more like he's been stealing even more.
Exactly. It's
like he already has more
thing.
stolen bases in Seattle than he did in like double the games.
He's
in Arizona.
top 20 in stolen bases this season. And if you told me to put money on that before the season, I would have slapped you. I would have said you need to go to a rehabilitation center for your gambling addiction. I would have said you're nuts, because who's putting money on Josh Naylor stolen bases? And lo and behold, he's at 25 stolen bases right now, unless he's already stolen one today. Actually, I don't even know if the Mariners have started their game yet, but
they have not.
He's tied for 20th in baseball in stolen bases. He's tied with Julio Rodriguez. Like, I want you all to compute that. Josh Naylor and Julio Rodriguez have the same stolen base total. Like, that's ridiculous. Especially when you consider, like, how we kind of perceive these types of players. And, like, Julio Rodriguez is viewed overall as, like, maybe not quite a 5-tool player, but an all-around really complete player, a good hitter, really good defender, elite base runner. So that's someone that you would expect to be almost at 30 stolen bases. You would kind of expect something like that, right? You would not expect something like this from Josh Naylor, right?
No, he's not a base stealer. That's not why the Mariners traded for him.
Exactly.
For sure.
They traded for him because he can hit that damn ball, right? They didn't trade for him because he's going to come out here and hit. For reference, Julio Rodriguez is in the 92nd percentile in sprint speed. Josh Naylor is in the 2nd percentile in sprint speed. So
yeah, like that's what makes it all the more, confusing as to how. But obviously, sprint speed doesn't translate to base stealing.
Exactly.
There's different things like IQ of when to go. There's the jump. There's just so much.
If you get a really good jump, it can pretty much just make up for your lack of speed. And that is probably what's happening with Josh Naylor. I haven't been observing his stolen bases like that, but I'm going to take the liberty in assuming that it's stuff like his jump and his IQ. He is a smarter base runner. I remember when Encarnacion was a J. Something that they would say on the broadcast a lot would be, now I don't really know if the data really backs this up as much, but I remember them saying a lot that even if he's not the fastest, he's one of the slower base runners on the team, he's the smartest base runner on the team. Do I really care to prove that right or wrong? Not really. But it's that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
The slower you are as a base runner, the more the smarter you have to be. Just because you are really slow doesn't mean that you're automatically a negative on the base pass. You might clog it here and there, but if you know when to...
Yeah, exactly.
In this case, base stealing, or even in other cases, if you know when to take third and when to stop, when to go, when to take the extra base, when to go from second to home or first to home on a double or whatever, that's what really puts you over the edge. And it's clearly something that's been working really well for Josh Naylor, and shout out to him, man.
The same thing goes for the opposite side. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you're a good base runner.
Exactly.
There's just so much that goes into it.
And
it's just, hey, I can go from point A to point B fast. That means I'm going to be a good base stealer.
Exactly. And you brought up his total from Seattle versus Arizona. In Arizona, he played 93 games and stole 11 bags.
Yeah.
In Seattle, he's played 40 games and stole 14. So he's played less than half the games and stolen 3 more bags.
Crazy.
That's kind of ridiculous. And I don't remember if this is... I don't know if this is still correct. I'm going to check right now. He has not got caught stealing once since joining the Mariners. He's 14 for 14.
Yeah, and that's also another thing of, being smart, because it's one thing that if you're stealing pretty much every time you're on base, obviously you're going to luck into stolen bases and you're going to, get those numbers up. But that doesn't mean you're going to have a high success rate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. So that's one of my things. And Soto is another one. I don't think Soto is quite as ridiculous because it's like he's not Josh Naylor where he's in the bottom 2-3% in sprint speed.
No.
He is not fast. He's in the 15th percentile in sprint speed as well. But this is also not a guy that you would expect to steal 30 bags. Maybe he got 31 or something like that. But this is not a guy I would have ever pegged for a 30-30 season.
It's interesting to see because prior to this year, he had 57 career stolen bases, and now he's at 31 on the year. It's kind of like, what in him, what made him decide, you know what, I'm going to start stealing bases?
And this is another one where he's only gotten caught 3 times. He's 31 for 34. That's a really good percentage. For reference, this is less caught stealing than last year with the Yankees. He got caught 4 times last year in 11 attempts. This year, 3 times in 34 attempts. He has just gotten so much better with that. This is the best he's ever been as a base runner, by the way. His previous career high in BSR was 0.9. That was in his rookie season in 2018 with the Nats. Almost every year after that, he's gone negative. From 2020 to 2024, he's had a negative BSR. This year, he's +2. Also, for reference, I don't know if I brought up their BSR. Like Josh Naylor earlier, where is he at? He is at 0.3 on the year. It was minus 1.3 in Arizona. It's 1.6 in Seattle, by the way. And then Julio, let me look up his again. I closed his Fangraphs page by accident, but for reference, Juan Soto's BSR is just under Julio Rodriguez, so that should show you where he kind of has evolved as a base runner.
And it's also funny to see how the numbers contrast. Like Corbin Carroll, for example, 26 stolen bases. He's in the 99th percentile in sprint speed, compared to Josh Naylor, who you said I think was 2nd percentile. Mm-hmm. And Carroll has 1 more stolen base. So it's just really interesting to see how these numbers even come to fruition here.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like you would think, from someone who doesn't really watch the sport, or not even that, even someone who does watch the sport but doesn't really, know too much about these advanced stats. If you were to say, hey, this guy's in the 99th percentile in sprint speed, this guy's in the 2nd percentile in sprint speed, you would think that the guy in the 99th percentile would have 30 more stolen bases.
Yeah, you would just naturally expect that, and of course, why wouldn't you, right? It would only
it only
makes sense to assume the guy that's 90% faster is going to steal more bases, but no, if they've actually stolen the exact same amount of bases, that's just really just a testament to just how smart some of these guys have become as base runners. And amen, shout out to them, man.
For sure,
it's what they got to do. Give me one of your biggest surprises of the season, Ethan.
We've talked about this a lot, just because, we're Jays fans. So I'm not going to go too much into it. So I'm going to say two. One of them because, just to get out of the way, because it's obvious George Springer's resurgence. That's a huge surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I'm going to choose here, I'm going to go the all-time, or not all-time, but the single-season home run record being broken by a catcher, like 4 catchers this year.
I also wouldn't have expected that coming into the year. Obviously, Kyle Raleigh's no slouch, but...
Don't get me wrong. Kyle Raleigh is showing power.
Hitting 50-plus nukes as a catcher is crazy.
Don't get me wrong. 2022, 27 home runs. 2023, 30 home runs. 2024, 34 home runs. He found his place in the league. He was getting up there in home runs. Each year was a bit more than the last. And obviously, if you're looking at these trends, you'd say, you know what? He might crack 40 this year. I think that's a real possibility. Did anybody think he would crack 50? I don't know. And it's not like it would be crazy to say, like, this is strictly luck and that he is getting lucky to do, like, he is one of the premier power hitters in baseball, clearly.
Absolutely. And he's also, like, one of the best hitters in baseball when it comes to pulling the baseball. And
exactly.
He leads all of baseball in pulled air percentage. Which
and when you see his launching, how he's kind of, I don't want to say he's sold out, but he's adjusted his swing to the point where it's kind of like he's able to get more air on these, and they're carrying more because he's able to pull them.
Mm-hmm. I've looked up all catcher seasons since 1901. His season this year is 13th in WAR according to Fangraphs among catchers all time since 1901. At 7.5 WAR, he's probably going to break into the top 10. There is if he goes on a really big hot streak, he honestly probably breaks into the top 5, which is kind of just ridiculous to think about. This is like an all-time great catcher season, and I don't know exactly how
it's just an all-time great season in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about it.
Yeah, when you go to, like, any catcher who's had 450 plate appearances this season, I gotta isolate because, like, when you go on the qualifications and Fangraphs, it'll show you a bunch of guys who's had, like, 140 plate appearances to play, like, 30 games. But that's another one that's, like, ridiculous too. He's around a 150 WRC plus. His WRC plus mark this season, 154, is currently tied for 14th best all time by a catcher. A while ago, it was like top 10. I think it was top 5 at one point.
I mean, at some point, he was like at like a 180 WRC plus. Like, this is like halfway through the year, and it's like, holy shit, this is like one of the greatest seasons ever.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, like, this is an all-time, like, we should not try to diminish this by saying whatever. This is an all-time great catcher season by any definition of the sort. He obviously is one of the best. He's been one of the best. Offensive catchers, like, in a single season ever. Of course, he's a really good defender. He's in the 85th percentile in framing, 75th percentile in caught stealing above average. He's a great defensive catcher. But you're right. I would have never pegged him to go crazy like this. We've known that he's, like, a good power hitter, lower contact guy, but it's mostly been, like, he's been, like, a 220, 30 home run hitter, something around that range. He's never been this.
Yeah. And you know what's even funnier now that I'm really looking at the stats? He's in the 17th percentile in sprint speed, and he has 14 stolen bases.
Listen, man, guys are getting it this year.
Especially in Seattle. I don't know if it's something in Seattle where him and Naylor are just going off, but I mean, it's not like Naylor wasn't stealing any bases in Arizona.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm telling you, the unexpected guys are getting it, man.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Another one of my surprises, it was actually quite similar to the one you said with George Springer. It's a little more expanded. It's how many old men we've seen turn back the clocks this year.
Yeah.
I especially want to highlight, I talked about 2 of these guys so much on this pod. One of them is Springer, of course. One of them is Stanton. I've talked about those 2 a lot. We talked about him last week too, a good bit. Aroldis Chapman. He finally gave up a run, like, yesterday or the day before or something. He's actually human.
Yeah.
Those 3 have turned back the clock like madmen. Like, Springer and Stanton have been, kind of for similar reasons, their batted ball profile has just gotten so much better. Stanton has cut down his ground balls a lot, and he already wasn't hitting, like, too many ground balls, but he's cut that down. They're both a lot smarter as hitters. Springer's, like, I've talked about how much better his swing decisions are, how much better contact they're making. Stanton's 5'10", expected WOBA on contact is the highest it's been in a full season since 2018. Or, sorry, 2015, sorry, I'm actually blanking on that. I'm not counting 2019 and 2020, because 2019 he didn't really play much, and then 2020 was obviously the shortened season. But even so, that's a 5'10" expected WOBA on contact. His 533 expected slugging is the highest it's been since 2017, which, if anyone forgot, that was the year he hit almost 60 home runs and won MVP. Yeah, like, he's hitting the ball on the ground less, he's hitting more fly balls, he's hitting a couple more line drives. Overall, doing really good. And then obviously Springer as well, like, he's not chasing as much. His batted ball distribution is also a lot better than it's been. He's pulling the ball a little bit more in the air. He's hitting a lot less ground balls. His ground ball percentage is down like over 10%. His fly ball percentage is up just over 6%. His line drive percentage is up almost 3%. He's really just, his quality of contact is better. Like I said, his swing decisions are better. His chase percentage is down. His overall swing percentage is down too. But he's swinging just as much as he was at pitches over the heart of the plate, which tells you he's not swinging at bad pitches as much. And with Giancarlo Stanton, it's a similar story. His chase percentage is down 5% from last year. It went from 31% to 25.9. It's currently at this year. So shout out to him, man. That's one guy, or those are two guys who have really turned back the clock like crazy.
And then you also have other guys in that age range who never really missed a step, which is why we're not talking about a guy like Freddie Freeman, for example. It's because he's always looked like this, even the past couple of years.
Like someone like Springer, like guys like Springer and Stanton. Like, I don't know about you, before the season, I fully thought Springer was cooked. Stanton was a guy who was like, even if he was gonna be okay, he was gonna be injured, and then he had the year 2 years ago where he like hit under 200. He had a sub 700 OPS. It wasn't looking too great. And then last year he was just kind of like okay. And then this year
Stan looked great in the playoffs, and Stan, it looked like he still had some juice left, even if it's as a DH who just kind of sells out for home runs. He still kind of had a role, whereas Springer was looking like he was lacking everything. He didn't have that step in him anywhere. He couldn't, his fielding was down, his base running was obviously not great, and the issue is with this base running, he wasn't really getting on base to execute it either.
For Stanton, I feel like it was like, when you say he had some juice, I feel like you're right, but I feel like it was more along the lines of, if everything goes right, he's maybe an 800 OPS bat in this point in his career.
Right.
He's currently sitting,
not what we're seeing.
He's currently sitting, albeit small sample, I get it. It's a 939 OPS. This, like, for reference, that was Josh Donaldson's OPS and Chris Bryant's OPS in their respective MVP years, was 939 on the nose.
Crazy.
Not saying that Stanton would be an MVP candidate in a full season, but, like, just to put it into perspective on just how good he has been, especially compared to where I'm sure myself and I'm sure a lot of other people thought he probably would be. I definitely didn't think he would be anywhere near this. And let me go over to Aroldis Chapman really quick. This guy is genuinely ridiculous. Obviously, he had the streak of like over a month where he didn't allow a hit. He allowed like one base runner from that point the other night where he allowed that run to, I think, July like 29th or whatever it was we said on the pod like a few days ago. He allowed one base runner in that whole time. He walked one guy.
Basically like a fucking perfect game almost.
Yeah, literally. Like, and the thing that's crazy with Chapman is like, and we kind of discussed this a little bit last week, but even so, he's never been like a super crazy strike thrower, right? He's always had some trouble with his control. There's been a lot of years where he's had pretty high walk numbers, walks per nine approaching or exceeding 6 in some years. This year, he just isn't walking guys anymore. He was first in he was in the first percentile in walk rate last year, 14.4%, which is not good. This year, he's in the 71st percentile at 6.9.
walked 14 batters in 55 innings. Like, that's unbelievable for anybody, let alone a guy who's had walk issues.
Yeah, like, this is not a guy who has ever been, like, nails, like, sorry, not, he's never been nails. He's never been, like, constantly in the strike zone, constantly located. A lot of there have been some times, even when he was really good, where, you know, he got the job done, but, like, you know, it was one of those times where he made it a little interesting because
yes,
whether it's guys working counts off him or his slider sometimes had some tough location, and then all of a sudden, you know, the guy's 37 years old and he's having the best walk rate of his whole career, like, or pretty close to it, which is, like, genuinely kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it, you know, 2015, it was 11 point, his walk percentage, 11.9. Next year, 8.1, 9.6, 14.2, 10.6, 8.9. We're seeing the numbers above 10 typically, and around 8 and 9. And then you get to the last couple of years when he was, you know, looking like he was kind of running out a bit, but not fully, just not a closing pitcher. 15.6, 17.5, 14.5, 14.4. Now he's at 6.9, the lowest of his career by a significant amount.
Yeah, he's just in the zone so much more. His command and control is just so much better. Which, again, you see a lot of high velocity guys have this issue, so I'm not saying that it's like it was killing
exclusive
him or anything.
To him, yes.
But I think the fact that he was able to just fully just come in, turn it around, especially to this degree, is so, like, that's genuinely just, like, exceptional how he was able to, like, accomplish such a feat. That is not something that should go, like, unnoticed or unappreciated. Right. Like, I don't think a lot of people will understand just how insane that is, especially considering this is, like, this has an argument for the best year of his whole career. He's, again, I will say it one more time, he's 37 years old. And this has a legitimate argument for being the best single season of his entire career, which is just genuinely nuts. Like, shout out to Chapman, man. Shout out to Chapman, man. He's really getting it. Shout out to all three of those guys I mentioned.
For sure, but yeah, like on Chapman, this isn't just good for his standards. This isn't just good for, you know, in terms of the league.
This has been like he's been one of the best relievers in baseball this year.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, like, I don't know. It's at the point where, you know, you're starting to think, like, well, what can he do past this year? Can he still, like, is this just a one-off thing? Is he going to kind of walk batters again next year? Or is this just he made some adjustments that are, like, you know, this is going to stick. This is something that we're going to see for the next, like, couple of years. I mean, he's 37 right now, but, like, obviously when he was 36, nobody thought he'd make this jump. So Absolutely. Could he continue to jump from 37 to 38? Who knows?
Yeah, this is another one of those things where if you asked me before the season started how likely I thought something like this would be to happen, I'd call you crazy for even, like, proposing the question.
That's the thing. And it's
Chapman, 37 is going to have a career year. Like,
that's the thing, though. It's not even because of his age or his skill. It's just because of how many, like, his control issues. That's why I would say
that is something that you wouldn't expect to randomly get better at 37, no less, right?
No. Like, you would think if anything, it would just kind of get worse.
Exactly.
But
you would think maybe the velocity tails off a bit and he starts to get hammered a little bit more. But that just hasn't happened because he has just been kind of ridiculous. And, you know, shout out to him. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him.
Yeah. Another one for, you know, a surprise. I'm going to go the opposite side of the spectrum here. Mm-hmm. You said, we were just talking about some older guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the youth. There are two guys that stick out to me when I'm thinking about this that had incredible seasons. Not to say that there weren't, you know, more seasons that were great, but the two in particular that I am going to say, Junior Caminero with his 40-plus home run season, and Nick Kurtz with his surefire Rookie of the Year season.
Surefire Rookie of the Year, that's a pretty easy one, I think. Like, I think he has it. He could not play a game that he could have not played a game for the rest of the season, starting like August 31st, and I think he still would have had it quite easily.
Yeah,
Um,
and it is crazy to think that at the beginning of this season, he wasn't even like he didn't have the best odds on his own team to win Rookie of the Year.
mhm. Yeah,
Jacob Wilson had the spotlight earlier.
absolutely, because he was hitting like 370 for a bit. And you know another thing that's crazy? Nick Kurtz isn't
Yeah,
even like doesn't have enough plate appearances to be qualified for most leaderboards. He has more. He has the best WAR out of any first baseman in baseball right now. 4.3 is higher
yeah,
than anyone else in baseball right now.
yeah,
It's
and
a it's a
Junior Caminero, yeah.
it's a tick
I mean,
above
last
Vlad.
year,
It's above Olson, Pete, Harper, Freeman.
that's
He's like
impressive
that,
as
man.
hell. Yeah,
He's like that.
and Caminero last season was his rookie year. He had 6 home runs and 177 plate appearances compared to 42 and 593 this year. That six would be on pace if he were to have the 593 plate appearances, on pace for 20 home runs. He has over double that.
My
He
God,
took a
man.
huge jump, and it's not to say that like, you know what I mean. Obviously, Caminero was a highly touted prospect. This isn't just some random guy that just kind of came
Mm-hmm.
onto the scene and started being good because, obviously a very talented hitter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anybody thought 42 home runs were coming this year.
Yeah. If you again, this is another one where if you told me start of the season, now like this would not have he would not have been on like my radar for like mega breakout, you know what I mean? He's
Right.
sitting at a 4 WAR, like you said, 42 home runs. He's at a 126 WRC plus. I would not have had this level of success on my radar for the guy, you know what I mean? um
Yeah.
and yeah, I agree, in absolutely every single sense of the word. um yeah. Like, again, this is not a guy who was a nobody. He was like I'm pretty sure he was a top raised prospect coming into the season. He had an elite power tool. I'm pretty sure he had I think it was like a 70 grade power. Here, let me pull it up on Pipeline. He had a 70 grade power tool. So that's not nothing. But
No.
you wouldn't expect 42 in your first like real year. Maybe it takes a year or
Especially
two.
when
Even 30,
yeah,
right? That would have been
at
more.
his age 22 season, at age 21, I don't want to say he looked outmatched because he still was good. It's just he didn't look like it looked like he was still a couple years away from being a guy who's hitting 30
Like
plus.
star player, home run derby candidate in your like real rookie year. I don't know if it's actual rookie status
Yeah.
this year. I don't think it is. No, obviously it's not.
No, it's
Obviously it's
not.
not. Sorry, he has enough plate appearances for that. That's my bad. But in your first in your first real year, you know what I mean? Home run derby candidate, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely impressive what we've seen from him. And I mean, the Rays obviously not having the season that they had hoped,
Hmm.
but that's definitely a really big bright spot to look forward to if you're a Rays fan.
Absolutely. He's under team control for a while. You're going to have him cheap before they inevitably ship him off because that ownership does it with fucking every single good player, and it's kind of annoying, but also kind of
Yeah,
nice because they're in my division.
yeah, until they replace him with another prospect who
And
just turns into
then we do the
Barry
same.
Bonds,
Then we
and
do
then
the same thing over again.
yeah,
They replace him, man. Also, I want to go back to Nick Kurtz for a second. Shout out to him, man. Like, coming up, he was drafted literally last year, right? He was drafted last year. Now 4th overall. So this again, same kind of thing. This is not some nobody, right? It's obviously a highly touted guy, but to come in less than a year after you're drafted and then literally be the best at your position in the entire league is ridiculous. That is insane. He
yeah. I mean, I love what we're seeing the past couple of years. We're seeing more teams kind of draft guys and have them play, relatively early. We saw it with
Skeens.
Shanwell a couple of years ago with the Angels, literally debuting. I mean, a couple months after they drafted
Paul
him.
Skeens too, man.
And we saw with the Angels have a history of doing this. They did it with Zach
Mm-hmm.
Nato, who was drafted a couple of years, like I think the year before he debuted. Chase Silseth, it was the same thing. Like the year later, the Angels have been really doing it. I'm pretty sure again, like last year they did it with their draft pick Ryan Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
who has played a little bit this year, not too much obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
still debuted. And it's just, I like it for the most part. It's good in certain situations. If you have the player development that the Angels have, where it's obviously not the best, and we've seen that, I could understand why you'd want to kind of rush them so you don't really get the development team a chance to mess it up.
Angel Stray.
But no, I mean, it's cool to see because it also makes it where if you have a top pick, it's beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, obviously it's easy to say, when it's a first overall pick because we've seen some of the first overall picks already make impacts where it was Paul Skeens, it was Jackson Holliday, Henry Davis, Spencer Torkelson, Adley Rutschman, who, I mean, I'm not going to say they've all had incredible careers so far. Adley, had a couple, like, very good years and now is struggling a bit. Torkelson's having a good year. Paul Skeens is, he's Paul Skeens.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Holliday looks solid. And it's just, obviously for the first overall picks, you would expect them to be able to be ready within the first couple of years because, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because, they're drafted first overall for a reason. They're not necessarily a big project, but it's cool to see the guys who are maybe not first overall, like we saw in the Angels cases, drafted in the 10s, or in a couple other cases with the Astros and Cam Smith debuting, he was picked in he was picked later in the first round as well, and Ryan Johnson in the Angels case was picked I think second or third round. So it's definitely cool to see these players kind of come onto the scene and make an impact earlier, and I hope this is kind of a trend we see of. I think that would be cool to see. Players get drafted and they just get their chance because, a team like the Angels could use help from wherever they can get them. And that's not like an Angel stray. That's just a fact that a team who's, struggling to kind of make the playoffs for the last 10 years, they could use some immediate help. That's not like, that's an understatement, if anything.
Mm-hmm. And just to put it in perspective just how good Kurtz has been, he made his debut on April 21st. Since then, he has the second best WRC plus in all of baseball. So since he's come up, he's been the second best hitter in all of baseball. It means he's been a better hitter than Ohtani, than Juan Soto, Kyle Raleigh, like all these guys except Aaron Judge. That's the only guy in baseball who has a higher WRC plus since Kurtz made his debut.
And means it's higher than Shohei, it's higher than Soto. Yep. I mean, it's higher than guys who are making almost $1 billion, like,
right?
Who just signed $1 billion contract. So it's like
he's 16th in WAR as well, in F4. So he's like a fringe top 15 position player in the sport since then too. He's tied for 9th in home runs. He's genuinely just been so ridiculous. And it's not like it's just like the Athletics park doing it to him, because obviously his 175 WRC plus, that'll account for the park factor, which obviously is, I'm pretty sure it's like the second most hitter-friendly park factor in baseball. I think only Citizens Bank Park has a more hitter-friendly atmosphere. But even so, his 389 xWOBA too, like that'll take that into account. So he's just been ridiculous, man. He's gonna be good for a long time. Shout out to Kurtz, man. Shout out to Kurtz, bro.
Yeah, I mean he's a fun player, and again, it's really cool to see not only these players, who are young, just make their debut. It's cool to see them go off like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really impressive because you have guys who, were considered the best in the sport, and I'm not saying they're not still. I'm not saying that this means he's better than like Shohei Ohtani, but we're used to seeing guys like Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto. We're used to seeing guys like that, Kyle Schwarber, have these insane years. But then when you take a guy like Caminero or Kurtz, who are 22 years old, and they just hit 30 plus, 40 plus home runs, it's impressive as hell. It really is.
It is, man. And they deserve all the credit in the world for what they do, and they deserve all the recognition for what they got. So, of course, shout out to those guys. They deserve every little bit of what they're getting. I guess I am up now. Another one of my big surprises, and it's a very happy one. And I know a certain someone we know, I'm sure, is also really happy about this. Byron Buxton's finally having a career year. I feel like for the longest time, I'm going to reference an insane graphic. Do you know the Paul Pierce graphic where he's like, I'm only getting a taste, I want the whole load. That's what we were getting from Byron Buxton for so long. Because, of course, a lot of it was injury bug, right? From 2018 through 2023, the most games he ever played in a single season was 92 games. And before that, it was 140 in 2017. 2016, it was 92, 2015, 46, whatever. Those don't really count as much. But from when he really burst onto the scene, and then really became a regular in that Twins lineup, a staple of that team, he was in and out of the lineup a lot because he was having a lot of injury troubles, right? So that kind of caused him to never really be able to reach the heights that we knew he would be able to reach. Like, we knew that he's good enough to, because
5-tool potential, no doubt.
No,
I mean, we're seeing it now,
like,
firsthand.
Absolutely. Like, at his peak, we're talking, like, one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. 2017, he had a 22 DRS, 26 outs above average that year. And, like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And then, obviously, a little bit after that, 2019, 2020, 2021, he was really starting to get the offense in there, but then obviously he was never able to be fully healthy. Like in 2021, he had a 4 WAR in 61 games. Now this year, he's not quite at that same level of peak. He's at a 142 WRC plus, which is still great nonetheless. He's at a 4.9 WAR, which is a career high over 111 games. And I'm not gonna lie, at a certain point, he not last year, but I think like you look like 2023, like with the injuries and everything, he was starting to approach 30. It was starting to look like were we ever going to really get the Byron Buxton that we had hoped, whether it was injuries or at a certain point he was there was a year, I think it was 23, where he was kind of looking a little bit cooked,
Yeah, I mean, and it's also he's had multiple IL stints this year too, and it's not even to say this has been a fully healthy season, but
it's been just the most healthy that we've been able to get from him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his injuries, like his history, and the list is as longer than guys throughout their whole career, let alone a guy who's only 31 years old.
It's that SpongeBob gif where he's got the list for everything for the party, and it's going around the thing. Yeah, there. But yeah,
it's unfortunate, but better late than never.
That is one that's made me so happy this season, because this is a player I've always wanted him to succeed so much. It's hard not to love someone like Byron Buxton. He's such an electrifying player. And to finally be able to get to see him, I wouldn't say this is like the peak potential that we imagined, just because he's not like an elite defensive center fielder these days. To be able to like at least see him get a full year of all-star level like play, he should have started in the All-Star game, by the way. Like but whatever, that's not the point of this. To be able to finally get that full season. Sorry, again, like you said, not fully healthy. So not like full season, but relatively healthy season under his belt, and get a good amount of production out of him. That just makes me so happy to see. I'm so happy for. I should say I'm happy for Twins fans, because they have a lot of stuff to not be happy about. But I'm happy that they're finally getting able to actually experience this full season out of Buxton. Imagine like this kind of season in like 2023, like when they actually made the playoffs, or like any of those years where they were like really good. This would go a long way. Another 5-win center fielder up in there, right? Shout out to Buxton, man. What do you got? What's your next one?
I'm going with an entire team this time. I'm going with the Atlanta Braves as a surprise. Yeah. And unfortunately for them, this is not a surprise in a good way.
Not on the right side. Yeah,
So first of all, according to Fangraphs preseason projections, their odds to make the playoffs 93.4%, and the World Series odds were 15.8%. And if you care more about betting odds, because Vegas, whatever, knows the best, as some people say.
Shout out all my gamblers.
They have the third best odds to win the World Series at plus 950, which is implied odds at approximately 9.5%. So the odds had them at a 9.5% chance of winning the World Series. And here they are in the dog days of September, postseason, in sight. Teams already have that in, they're looking forward to it. They're sitting at 65 wins and trail only the Washington Nationals in the division, or they're ahead of only them. And a team that is ahead of them had plus 50,000 odds at winning the World Series. Which, you know, if you use the implied odds, yeah, like that's less than a full percent, obviously. Uh, yeah, I mean, not looking good. I don't know exactly what went wrong with this team. It's more than just one thing, obviously, but for a team that's expected to be a contender year in and year out, and I'm sure a lot of people had them. I don't know necessarily winning the division, but
They
I
seemed like a
guarantee you
pretty
that
safe playoff pick preseason.
I
Like pretty
guarantee you
safe.
the average baseball fan thought they'd be, fighting at least for the majority of the season with the Mets or Phillies for
Mm-hmm.
that division spot. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the absolute bare minimum, you would think that they'd be safely in the second wild card at worst.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the only teams that are below them right now in the standings are the Pirates, who are one game back of the Braves, the Nationals, who everyone kind of expected them to be bad, and the Rockies, who are a historically bad team. So, and this is in the NL, obviously, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
go to
yeah.
the AL,
Yeah,
then you
of
have the
course.
White Sox. But that's the thing; they'd be the second worst or the third worst team in the AL. I mean, the Twins are one game back. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what happened to derail this season and to kind of do it, but there's a difference between underperforming and sinking. I mean, underperforming is the Dodgers, who are sitting at 82 wins right now,
Mm-hmm.
and underperforming for their standards, not underperforming in the grand stage. I'm sure any team in the league that's not the Dodgers, for the most part, would be happy with 82 wins being a down year at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But the Braves at 65 wins, I mean, they're a bad team right now this year.
Yeah, it has not been pretty. Now, like their big off-season move, I was so high on the Jurickson Profar signing, and then obviously he gets suspended instantly. Obviously, that's not the only reason they've been bad, but
Right.
from the start, it was grim. It was bad from the start, like pretty much right from the first couple days of the season. What did they start off? What was it, like 0-6? And
Yeah, they started off really slow, and it's kind of like, oh, it's the Braves, they'll figure it out, but they
mm-hmm.
never quite did.
Yeah, they really never got it going. And yeah, it was kind of tough to see because again, I was another person who definitely thought they would just be a pretty safe pick for the playoffs. Not that they were like easy pencil in 100% whatever, because obviously a lot of those
Right.
NL teams are really good, and a lot of teams in the mix now we're definitely seen as in the mix before. I'm sure a lot of people were lower on Milwaukee. I was definitely lower on them than they are currently sitting at, but I definitely felt pretty good about, yeah, the Braves should have something, right? But they just haven't,
Yeah.
man. They haven't, man.
And it's at the point where it's like, I mean, right now they're way out of time. It's like, this year's already long gone for them.
Yeah,
You're looking towards next year. It's going to be an interesting free agency
it is because
because
they got some stuff to do. Obviously, they lost Max Fried in the offseason, and I don't really think they really did a great job of addressing that loss.
no, not at all. And you got a bunch of free agents too. I mean, they've got a lot of pitchers who are, some of them are still in arbitration and pre-arb, so it's not a big deal. But you got decisions to make. You're losing Ozuna, who's been good for you. I still don't get why they didn't trade him. And then the next year you got even more free agents. I know, like Chris Sale, for example. What's the future looking like for him? I
Mm-hmm.
know they didn't want to trade him this year, but had he been healthy the whole year, maybe he would have gotten traded. You got Albies up in the next couple years, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Acuna, he doesn't have forever left on his contract.
Yeah.
It's just lots of decisions need to be made. This is going to be a crucial offseason for the Braves, and this one offseason could determine the next 5-10 years or so for them.
Yep.
Are they, a team that's going to go out there, try to, dress the best team possible next year and kind of go back to where they were and where they're supposed to be? Or are they going to kind of take the mini rebuild route, wait a couple of years, sell off some of their bigger pieces that aren't young still, like a guy like Albies, a guy like Sale, Are they gonna, kind of retool a bit and then build around Acuna? Hopefully his health is there. Build around him, which obviously is the smart play. But I don't know. I mean, the Braves aren't a team that are strapped for cash. They can spend some money
Mm-hmm.
if they see fit. It's just a matter of what the mindset is with the team, where they see the team in a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this from Atlanta. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they definitely can spend some money. If I remember correctly, I think they were one of the teams that was like really going after Judge a few years ago when he was a free agent. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm remembering that
I'm
wrong.
not sure exactly. I remember it was the
I know
Padres
that,
and Giants too.
yeah, I know those were like the top ones. I think the Braves were somewhere in that mix. I think. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't actually know, but yeah.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, they're a team that's a top 10 in payroll. They like to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They had no problem trading for Matt Olson and instantly giving him like almost $200 million.
Actually, I think I know what you're talking about because I don't think it was the signing. I think it was the trade that apparently there was a trade. This is years ago. Like this is back. I don't know exactly the year this was.
No, I know which
believe
one you're
this
talking about. You're
was.
talking about the Jason Hayward one. That's what you're talking
Oh
about.
yeah, then you're talking about something different.
No,
I assume.
I'm talking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was when.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just misremembering it. Maybe I'm mistaking
Yeah.
a team or
For those,
like
yeah,
a different player or
for
something
those
like
who,
that.
yeah,
But
but
you know,
for those who don't know, the hypothetical trade in question that I think the Braves said no to. It might have been the Braves that said no. The trade would have been the Yankees acquiring Andrelton Simmons, Jason Hayward, B.J. Upton, and Chris Johnson. The Braves would have acquired Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and Luis Severino.
which is kind of
So
crazy.
I mean, yeah, I mean, wow. But it's fun to see years later, seeing like these what if trades that never actually happened, like hearing like 10 years after the fact, like, whoa, what the.
You know what? I wanted to see the full like trade proposal that you were looking at, and literally the
Oh,
first
I
thing I
found
see,
another one.
I search up Aaron Judge Braves trade to see. I want to see the one you were talking about again.
I found
Literally
another
the
one.
first two articles that come up is trade ideas, and it's Acuna. They're both Acuna to the Yankees, bro. I don't need that. That's also just not going to happen. But
Yeah, here's another one. So it was the same thing. Um, for like not the same thing, but it Judge. It was Greg Bird and Aaron Judge for Julio Teheran. Like, could you imagine? Like, again, there's no guarantee Judge becomes what he is today had he not stayed with the Yankees because that's just how sports work. But could you imagine that, like, looking back, if Judge was doing this stuff with Atlanta and all the Yankees had to show for it was Julio Teheran?
I'd be livid.
Yeah.
I'd be livid, man. But
I mean, I'd be like, yeah, like I don't know. I'd be thinking, every god there is to thank, like that those didn't go through if I'm a Yankee fan
yeah,
because, I mean, we've seen when the Yankees have one down year how the fan base gets and how there's just all the pressure and all the negativity. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it means that you're a big market and the fans care. But I couldn't imagine what it's like if they didn't have like this superstar. Obviously, it doesn't mean they couldn't have gotten one elsewhere, but it's just kind of the fact that where the hell would the Yankees be without Judge?
right.
That's something that's like not even.
There was kind of like an idea coming into the year that like this was just Aaron Judge and friends, like in terms of the lineup, and obviously
that's
that
not the
hasn't
case.
been the case this year. But like it was there were some years where it was like you remember when they moved into the leadoff spot, and I think it was like 22 because they had literally nobody that was a good hitter in that lineup besides him.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad at a certain point.
And imagine they just didn't have him. Like that's
that leads me into the next thing I want to talk about. One of my big surprises is just how good the Yankees position player core has been. Now, this is not the first time I've talked about it on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I talked about it like last week or the week before, something like that. But their position player core overall has been so much better than it was last year. And you have had a lot of unexpected contributions. Now, obviously, you don't have a Juan Soto in this lineup, but big whoop because you know what? Here's the thing with with these two teams, right? This year versus last year's Yankees. Last year they had three qualified hitters, with a WRC plus that was above average. There was obviously Soto and Judge, who had 181 and 220 respectively, and Gleyber Torres was the third best qualified hitter on this team at a 105 WRC plus. Their sixth best hitter right now in this team, out of all their qualified hitters, is Paul Goldschmidt at a 106 WRC plus. That would rank third last year. Now, obviously, you pencil in other factors, like Stanton's been a lot better. That's a big one, right? Their position player core as a whole is just so much better. You're getting contributions of guys like a Trent Grisham. Cody Bellinger has been really good. Jazz Chisholm has been really good. Ben Rice has come out of the woodworks and been pretty good. He's a 121 WRC plus guy, and he's also been ridiculously unlucky. He's underperforming his XWOL by like almost 70 points. It's like kind of ridiculous. When that evens out, like the league actually like might be cooked. Yeah, like I think the fact that we're looking at like an okay-ish Paul Goldschmidt, and we're saying this is the sixth, if you want to count Stan, the seventh best hitter in the lineup, when last year he probably would have been like the fourth, fifth best hitter in this lineup. That's a big difference. That is
100%. 100%.
That's absolutely massive, man. That's like there's a pretty strong argument for like this team is probably better than last year, to be totally honest with you.
I
think their lineup is pretty easily better than it was last year. Like,
I think it is better. I mean,
even if like their win-loss record doesn't necessarily suggest, because their winning percentage compared to, or at least their like pace versus their win total last year is obviously not as high. But like they are a maybe not objectively a better offense, because I think their WRC plus for last season might be better, because granted they had some guys that like maybe didn't qualify, but like Stanton and Austin Wells had like a 110, 115 WRC plus. But this lineup is a lot more well-rounded than it was last year. There was a lot more feeling of like you had the two guys.
They get more home runs this year than they did last year.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. Like, you know, obviously home runs again aren't the whole thing, but when you're comparing in the fact that all the numbers are the same basically, then obviously you need to find something that sticks out.
Yeah.
So average is the exact same, on base down a bit, but the slugging is up by a significant margin. WRC plus two difference, two higher last year, with still a bunch left to play. I mean, this team is deep for sure. I think that this is a way deeper team than last year. Last year they were more top heavy. We talked about that, I believe, on the last podcast about how, you know, it was more so, you know, just the Judge and Soto show rather than
not necessarily those are the only two good position players on the team, because like I said, like guys like Stanton and Austin Wells were obviously good. Torres was an above average hitter, but you have a lot more. I feel like I can feel a lot more confident in their position player core this year, because you have a lot more. You just have more reliable guys, even if you don't have the second superstar next to Judge. I mean, Stanton's been playing like it in the last little bit, to be fair, but you have a longer list of just quality position player talent that it feels a lot. I would feel a lot better picking this lineup in like a playoff series. Or just over the span of a whole season in general, I would feel a lot better picking in favor of this lineup than I would have last year. And that obviously, that should say a good amount, because that team made the World Series last year. Albeit relatively weak AL. But still, I feel a lot better about their team I think their rotations, maybe not the rotations better, because they've been kind of hit with injuries hard this year, but
yeah, I mean, Garrett Cole, I mean, imagine they had him.
Cole, Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel obviously wasn't pitching for a good while.
Of Luis Heel, yeah, I was going to say.
But yeah,
I mean,
but like, I would feel a lot better picking their lineup, at least. I don't know about the whole team, just because the pitching side's been kind of cooked. Their bullpen has not been nearly as good this year. But I would feel a lot better with the lineup that they have this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah,
I feel quite
the lineup
in
scares me more.
I would feel, because there's just a lot more guys who can do stuff in this lineup as opposed to where they were at last year, where, you know, there was Judge, Soto, there would be maybe another two guys who you felt confident that, you know, they could carry their weight, and then there was a lot of just not looking too great. Like, Gleyber Torres was like a barely above average hitter, and I'm pretty sure he was leading off for like most of last year, and I think even in the playoffs he was leading off if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and that raises another question about if Aaron Boone's the right man for this job, which I don't think he's a terrible manager, but I mean, a change of scenery for him could do him good, and a change of just a guy in charge for the Yankees might be able to get it done. But yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
necessarily
definitely
sure how much I think would change if they like just change managers.
No, I'm not saying that's like a big thing. I'm just saying like in terms of lineup change, like how the lineup was trying to. It would have made more sense for last season than it would for this season.
Yeah, I mean, this lineup improved so much, and he's been the head of the table. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that's something important to keep in mind there with that. What do you got next?
So I could go a couple different ways here because obviously we talked about the Braves being bad, and we could just kind of do what we did where we talked about a team like the Brewers again. But I'm gonna go with something that's not record related. I'm gonna go with the Rafael Devers trade as a big surprise on the season.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody could have expected that to happen, let
absolutely
alone
not.
getting the package they got for him.
And you know what? While I'm on that, not just the trade, I think it's how the Red Sox handled the trade. Because I still like, you could have argued at the time that like the value of getting off the contract plus how good James Tibb was as a prospect would be enough to maybe make it a little bit easier with the fans however many years down the line. But then they went and traded him for Dustin May. Oh man.
I don't exactly know the entire reasoning behind that because at that point, why even trade for Tibbs? Because it's kind of like,
yeah.
I mean, Dustin May surely wouldn't have costed that much.
Because he was like was he their second round pick the year before? So like,
yeah, I mean, when I saw the trade, when I saw the notification coming through that Devers been traded to San Francisco, I thought there was not a chance in hell Bryce Eldridge would not be part of it.
Yeah, you would think.
I just thought that like you would think the package would revolve around Eldridge because he's their first baseman of the future. He's their top prospect. It just made too much sense. And then it comes out that they didn't actually trade any of their like insane prospects for the most part, and it's like, oh, okay then.
Exactly, because like obviously like what was it 3 years ago they signed Devers to that really big extension. Now, albeit it's not the same general manager, so that really doesn't hold as much weight as I think a lot of people thought it should have. But even
it doesn't. But at the end of the day, when you have a guy who's as good of a hitter as he is under contract for another
their biggest problem right now is they don't have a Rafael Devers. Like that's their problem.
Yeah.
And you had one. You had him. You literally had a player who is exactly what they currently need. And they said no.
Yeah, and I guess I see the thought process of our prospects can step up, a guy like Roman Anthony, but you can't rely on too many of these prospects to just automatically make you good because they're prospects at the end of the day. You know what you have in Rafael Devers. You don't know what you have in a guy who's in the minor leagues right now, and obviously injury to him hurts, and they could use a guy to step up that could hit for power in his absence, and who could have fit that description?
It could have been Rafael Devers, man. Especially someone who's like he had already been there for a while. I think he first came up in 17. I think his first was when he came up. He's been there for a while. He's fans like him. You wouldn't expect them to be. You wouldn't expect them to make that kind of trade unless they were like the Red Sox were like really in the trenches, which they really never were. This team has not been in the trenches for a long fucking time, right? And even with the rationale of the contract and everything, I really don't think the contract was that bad, to be honest. But the return I never thought was really worth it because there was two pieces that maybe would have been worthwhile. Tibbs was one of them, and then you traded him for a rental starter who isn't very good anyways. And then Kyle Harrison, who I also don't think is that good, to be honest with you. and those were supposed to be the two big pieces. You got like Jordan Hicks, who also isn't good and is also overpaid, albeit for a much lesser term. I think it's like 3 more years he has left or something like that. Or even 2 more years, I think. So obviously you're getting off the money quicker, but that's like it. That's all you had going for you in that trade, and none of those pieces are going to be anything.
The more I think about it, the less it makes sense, because if the whole reasoning was that you wanted to let a guy like I don't know, like Roman Anthony or Marcelo Meyer, if the whole idea was to get one of them up early and play, and you wanted to make the room, it puzzles me that a guy like Jaren Duran wasn't the first guy traded.
Exactly. I can't, like, it really... I've been having a lot of trouble trying to wrap my head around where the Red Sox are even coming from when they make this move, right?
Yeah, and now Yoshida's just getting even more at-bats than he would have with Devers, and Yoshida is a terrible player.
Exactly.
And no disrespect to him, good guy, I'd assume, but he can't play the sport.
Exactly.
He can't.
You know how much we talked about at the deadline about which one of their outfielders is going to get traded, because it seemed pretty likely, especially, they had Roman Anthony coming up. You can't have all these outfielders on the same team. People were talking about Jaren Duran, people were talking about Willie Abreu even, which I never really understood, but even so, that was the conversation, right? And obviously Yoshida. And then it was nothing? And then it was, let's do all of them, and let's put...
Yeah,
fucking Rafaela, too. I forgot about him. He's one of the best defensive...
He's now playing, I'm pretty sure, the outfield, like, semi-permanently, which is good. He's not playing second base anymore.
He should have never been at second in the first place. That's the point. That's the thing. He never should have been there in the first place.
Yeah,
and they would have been able to, like, overall get a lot more value, like, out of their roster if they would have traded one of those guys. Let's say Duran. Let's say Duran, right? Duran would have netted you a pretty good return, because that's a good player. He has like 3 more years of control, I think, maybe 2 years, 2 years, something like that. Good player with some control. That would have netted you something good, right? Whether it's a pitcher or whatever, right? Or even if you're able to get a middle of the order bat, maybe you have to throw in something plus with Duran. You remember, I said at the deadline, what if it's like Duran for Cease and then like plus, right? Cease plus for Duran. You remember that was getting thrown around because people were really saying like Duran to the Padres, right?
Yeah, I like that move for both teams when we were discussing that.
Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to say, they traded him because they wanted to give more guys opportunity, because you have a log jam in the outfield, so you trade your corner infielder. Makes sense. Yeah, like that doesn't make any sense. It's not like you are going to be better. Like, it's not like your team on paper is better without Rafael Devers, because it just isn't. That's a top, what do you want to say, 15, 20 hitter in the sport, something like that, and you're going to ship him off for nothing of value? Like...
Yeah, I don't know.
It actually felt exactly like the Mookie Betts trade. It felt exactly like the Mookie Betts trade. And I honestly, there could be an argument to be made. I may not be the one to make the argument. I probably won't be. But there could, in theory, be an argument to be that this is even more mind-boggling than the Mookie Betts one. Because you can at least say, well, Mookie Betts was due for an extension. He was due to be a free agent. You can at least say that. This, no, you had him under contract for like another 7 years. This made no sense from the jump. It makes even less sense after the fact that they traded the most valuable player in that trade, or the most valuable asset they got back for nothing. I don't know, man.
I mean, there's just so many questions that still have yet to be answered by the Red Sox, whether directly in terms of what the plan is or, why they did it. I have a hard time believing the whole thing was that he didn't want to play first base, because quite frankly, if that was the issue, then you say, okay, you're a superstar player, you don't have to play first base. That just seems like the easiest solution.
I saw somebody say, like, yeah, listen, for how good he is, you put up with him being a bit of a diva, like, and that's real. If he's a little bit of a diva, so be it. I do think, in all fairness, he was being a bit of a baby, but at the same time, they also did say a million different things to him. So I can't say he's completely unjustified in everything he felt.
That's another thing. He signed that extension with the promise of the position, and yes, it's a different management now, but that's another issue. He didn't sign that contract with that with this front office. He signed it with the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just weird to sign that kind of contract with no, I mean, I'm not going to fault him, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, when you look back, it's kind of like, okay, it makes sense. He didn't have, the stability, I guess, he thought was stronger than it was. But, yeah, it's just the fact that a player of that caliber gets traded in the middle of the season when there's no, real rumors. Like, the rumors were just kind of people speculating, like, oh, there's little trouble here. Maybe he's going to ask out, not, hey, they're shopping him around. Because it's the same thing with the Luka trade. I guarantee you if the Red Sox actually shopped Devers around and made it known to the league,
they would have easily got more than what they got.
They would have gotten a hell of an offer.
Nothing.
They would have got a way better offer. And I think that's another thing. They just, at that point, they were just kind of like, okay, we don't really want him anymore. We're just going to take what we can get rather than, hey, let's maximize the value. And if that's the case, that's a complete, disaster class from that front office.
Like, they traded David Ortiz light for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
It makes
as a fan of a team in that division, I'm happy, but also fan of baseball, what the fuck are you doing?
Also, a deal this major was made in, early June. Which is really early mid-June, which is really weird.
Nowhere near the dedeadline either.
Really
it was
just
fucking
weird. Obviously, you see deals
really
get made.
You
see deals get made around this time, around this point of the season all the time. But they're usually they're never this major. They're around the edges kind of thing. Maybe you get a minor bullpen.
It came out of nowhere. I thought that
you improve your bench a little bit. You never this early.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Andy Martino whose tweet I originally saw about the trade. I think I don't know if he's the one who broke it, but that's the tweet I saw. And I legitimately was like, wait, is this, did he get hacked?
That's real? What I thought. I saw the Passan notification. I thought it was fake. I thought he got hacked.
Yeah.
I thought he got hacked, or I was getting a fake Passan account, notification, a parody account.
Yeah, I thought that, there's no way. And, I remember I was just like, what the fuck? I was thinking, all right, what's going the other way? Eldridge, probably Bird Song or something,
mm-hmm.
and something else, and then it just comes out that it's the trade, the return was just easily matchable by any team in baseball.
I probably have an equal return to that, sitting in my freezer, to be totally honest with you.
That's the thing. I mean, there are teams that if they knew that he was. I'm not even going to say a team like us because, who knows if they're trading within the division. But I guarantee you if they came out and said, hey, we're listening on Devers, a team would have came out with a much better trade than that.
Yo, if AJ Preller heard about that, oh my god, he's taking lines off the desk.
Dude, they traded their number one prospect for a relief pitcher.
Imagine what they would have given up for They actually would have given, No, they would have given everything, bro. AJ Hinch would have given them half his limbs.
Dude, they would have traded the house from Drake and Josh for the for Devers, man.
Literally, if AJ Preller heard about this, he would have been all over this. We would have seen the most ridiculous return in MLB history. That would have been.
I mean,
that would have been something.
And now it really the more that we talk about it, makes me think that he even considered going to San Diego, Breslow, in terms of a trade. Did he even consider, you know what I mean? It just, the more that comes out about it, the more that I think about it, the less sense it makes. And that's so rare for something to happen. Usually when you think of something more and more, it becomes okay, that makes more sense. It just keeps getting more and more
Him or Jerry DiPoto. Those would have been those two would have because those two are GMs on crack. Those two throw everything, bro.
And it's just, beautiful. I don't know. And I mean, obviously, there was the Correa trade too, which was kind of unexpected, but not unexpected in a way.
It was unexpected overall. It became not so surprising. Because it really materialized in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really when that whole thing, really, it became a thing. Was, within, I think 24 hours of the deadline. But then you remember they said the deal was dead.
Yeah.
And then it happened anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where if he were to get traded, everyone kind of knew that it was going to be the Astros. Mm-hmm. But it's also, no one expected it to actually happen. but like they did, like that would have made way more sense for everyone involved.
That one logistically like made more sense because like the Twins weren't really going anywhere. They were clearly selling off. Like with Duran, I think Duran got traded before that, or maybe it was after. I can't remember. But a lot of the Twins guys were in trade talks. They had already traded like Chris Paddock by that point, who, in all fairness, isn't very good. But they were kind of in
just
sell
shows the
mode.
direction of it.
Everyone knew they were in sell mode. It was no secret that they were selling off. Like people were talking about Joe Ryan potentially getting traded. Correa should like.
Yeah.
Not that I expected it, but it didn't come as like a ridiculous,
That's
unheard
another
of,
one.
unprecedented shock. I will say though, when
Yeah.
I did see he was getting traded, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Because that might have been the most surprising move at the deadline, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean the Red Sox were in on Joe Ryan. I'm pretty sure it was like the last couple minutes, and there were reports saying that the Red Sox are engaged in talks for Joe Ryan. It's kind of like, why not?
I'm pretty sure there was someone major. I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure someone said like they were close.
Yeah, I mean, why not go for that? Like at that point, I mean, you already traded Devers. You clearly have a farm system. I mean, you definitely try to make a move, get something.
Let's get Dustin
there,
May.
Yeah, trading the biggest piece in the return for Devers in a trade that you shouldn't have made. You trade him in another trade you shouldn't have made. So it's just kind of, I don't know what the hell's going on there, but we'll see. I mean, there's going to be a huge offseason, not just for the Braves, like I said, but for a lot of different teams that are trying to contend or trying to rebuild a bit. The Red Sox, I don't think after the Devers trade, people expected them to be in a playoff spot, let alone 3 games out of the division. And, I definitely think that, we're going to see a lot more clarity in terms of a lot of these teams in the next couple of weeks, whether it's, if they miss the playoffs, whether it's, some guys getting fired right after the season. We're going to see some clarity on these teams and how their future kind of stacks up against the rest of the leagues. And all I'm going to say with the Red Sox is it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of fill that Devers hole via free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're kind of going to need something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
What if what if they bring in a guy like Tucker?
Yo.
Just saying.
Yo, I don't need that spoken into existence. You need to relax, buddy.
I know.
You need to relax. I just do not need that shit. That's not something I'm trying to have happen.
Where do you think Tucker goes? I just have to ask.
Yo,
or, before we do our off-season show.
God, I don't even know where to think. So, you always have to consider the Padres because AJ Preller's a little bit of a fucking crackhead over there.
Yeah.
He's a GM on meth, right?
Yeah.
So you always kind of have to consider them. I mean, the Red Sox could actually, I think, are like a very legitimate possibility considering how in they were on Juan Soto.
Yeah.
I feel like you always have to throw the Dodgers in there. The Yankees were in on him in the offseason, so I think that is one. Even aside from them being the Yankees, like you really have to consider them because they were going after him in the offseason.
I mean, I think you also have to say a team that whenever we were talking about an outfielder, we linked them to, and that's the Phillies.
Yeah.
Especially with Schwarber's contract up. Obviously, you gotta think that they're gonna try their hardest to re-sign him, but if they don't, then 100%, I think Tucker makes so much sense from a money standpoint.
The Giants,
I think
too.
Even if they re-sign Schwarber, they could.
The Giants, too, I think, are a team that really he would fit well on.
Yeah. But then we'll save that for,
Yeah, we'll do a off-season like review video or like preview, I guess, when that rolls around, just after the playoffs end. But
just a little,
we'll give you a little tease, yeah, you're not getting the whole load just yet.
No, you're getting just the tip.
Yeah, you're just getting the tip right now. Another one of my surprises. We had to talk about them eventually. We had to because we're Jays fans. It's the Blue Jays, man.
Yeah.
And they're good, not for necessarily like reasons that I thought they would be good. I thought that they would just have like a good enough offense and like their pitching would be really good. They've had one of the best lineups in baseball. I remember saying at the start of the season, I was on my friend's podcast, and we were talking about the Jays preseason, and we were reviewing their off-season moves, right? And actually, we even did like an off-season like preview, like sat in the GM chair sort of thing. And what we said in pretty much both scenarios, we were like, if everything goes right, the stars align, they're going to be an 85-win team. They might win 85. They might win 85 games by the end of the weekend. um, they're
They might win 85 by the end of tomorrow.
yeah, they might be at 85 wins tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
like if they have a bad next few games, they'll win 85 on
That's
Sunday.
the thing. If before the season you said, "Hey, the Blue Jays are going to be above 500 this season," I'd say, "Fuck, that's awesome. Let's go."
I remember saying I remember saying I think the division is chalked. I remember saying maybe if everything goes right, they get the third wild card spot. And now have they're tied for the best record in the American League. They're tied with the Tigers at 84 and 62.
I mean, not even before the season. Let's even say like in the middle of May. There was a point in the middle of May where we were just below 500. It's like, damn, this team's actually not the worst team in the world. Maybe they could kind of, sneak into a wild card. When this is back when they're like 7-8 games out of the playoff. Like,
I think even by the end of May, they were like sub 500. I think they were like 25 and 27 or something like that. Now, there's also, by the way, I want to debunk a little misconception that's been had about this team a lot this season. People have looked at their run differential and said, well, it's not as good as this team or this team or this team. Clearly, they're getting lucky. That's not necessarily true. They were overperforming when they were like just under 500 because their run differential was like minus 30. They should have been a lot worse. They should have been like 20 and 30 or something like that, right? Ever since they actually got hot, their run differential has reflected that. Not that run differential is like the end all be all, but there's been a lot of people I've seen that have tried to like really debunk quote unquote the Jays season.
Michael K.
Listen,
sorry,
man.
Something in my throat.
And for people who like actually pay attention, you will realize that they were overperforming at one point of the season. That was when they were like just kind of a mid team. Because they were mid to start the season. They weren't good, they weren't bad, they were pretty mid.
Right when the stretch kind of started.
Mm-hmm. Right before it started, I'd say.
And they went on that first,
they
they
were overperforming because they should have been bad, and then they were mid. But then when they were great, they were playing great. Like, that...
Here's why I think run differential doesn't really matter. I'm not going to say it matters not, like, 0, but, like, put it this way. Let's say you're in a game. It's 5-0. It's the 8th inning. They bring in a pitcher to kind of just mop it up so they're not, wasting any of their good pitchers. And let's say, the team just puts up like a 4 or 5 spot in the 9th because of that.
Exactly.
Because,
and then all of a sudden it's
11
nothing, and now it's 11-5, right?
Yeah, or let's say, the opposite, where, you're up, let's say 5-0, and they bring in a pitcher, and then you just kind of go off. That's an extra, like a lot extra free runs right there. And it also includes position players. It includes, like, because at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, a win is a win. Mm-hmm. A 1-0 win is the same as a 15-0 win.
Mm-hmm.
A 1-0 loss is the same as a 17-14 loss. It doesn't matter the score. A win's a win, a loss is a loss. Obviously I'm not gonna say that like it's good if you're constantly losing by a lot. But
yeah, no.
It just means that all it means is that it's amplified. Like the games that you're losing, you kind of lose by a bit, but the games you win are close. It doesn't mean you're necessarily a bad team. It just means that it matters at garbage time, I would say. Run differential more. Like it doesn't tell the full story. It kind of says part of the story and then kind of leaves off the rest.
Do you remember the year when the Mariners were like just outside of a playoff spot? I think Edwin Diaz had like 50 something saves this year. They won like 85 games. And they had a negative run differential because every single win that they got, it was a close game, and then every single loss they just got absolutely hammered.
Yeah, and it's like that doesn't necessarily mean they're a terrible team. It just means that they're not able to blow teams out, which at the end of the day you would like, but it doesn't mean that your team's bad because of it.
Exactly. If you're in a division series and you win game 1 2-1, you've won the game 2-1. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Come postseason, run differential means nothing. So why should it matter that much in the regular season?
I don't know. I don't have any data to support this, so this could just be me talking out of my ass. I am sure you could find a decent amount of postseason series where the team that actually won the series actually had a negative run differential. Not saying it would happen often, but I'm sure there are some examples. I'm sure there's some out there. I'm sure if I looked
100%.
I'm sure if I looked, I could find them.
But you put it this way: there's never been a case in sports history in which a team has lost a series in which they won more games than the other team.
This is correct. This is very true.
So that's what I'll say on that. The moral of the story: you want to win games, score more than the other team in that particular game.
And another thing specifically with Toronto is that they have just so many guys. It's kind of like what we were saying about the Yankees and like their position player core. They have so many guys that you can just be confident when they're in the lineup that they're going to just do something or like play their part at least. They legitimately have like 10 guys that I would feel like good about when I see them in the lineup. Legitimately, I think like 10. That means one of them isn't playing. Not to mention Santander also isn't playing. If you told me that Santander was going to play like 50-something games and he was going to be terrible, I would say our season's in the dumps. Everyone's gone by the deadline. Like, the season's a wrap.
Oh my god. I saw a tweet. So I assumed you saw after the Heineman walk-off, the interview with him and IKF and Hazel, right?
Yeah, and I
saw someone tweet a picture. They said, if you were to tell me, like, exactly. Like, before the season in March or something, you were to show me this screenshot,
I would assume Vlad was traded and everything.
Vlad was traded, and we have 100 losses.
We're on pace for 120-something losses.
These are guys who nobody thought would even be on the team at this point of the season are contributing in positive ways.
No, literally.
For a team that's first in the American League.
I would have been like, why is IKF back here? Like, how in the mud are we right now?
How bad are we where Tyler Heineman is getting the interview?
Tyler Heineman, like, legitimately has been, like, albeit it's a really small sample because he's playing backup
one of the best
catcher.
Backup catchers in baseball.
He's legitimately been he's been a 2-win player in like 150 plate appearances, which is like ridiculous to think about.
Yeah, I mean, guys are stepping up, and that's what you need from a team that wants to make a deep run. You gotta have guys like that step up.
Exactly.
And,
even a guy like Andres Jimenez has even been like, I think, has kind of performed worse than I would have expected him to. Not that I thought he was going to be like a ridiculous hitter, but I was thinking, you know, he can do an 85 WRC plus. He's running like 13 points below that, 12 points, whatever it is. And then obviously Santander. Those were like the big 2 position player ads, and they both have been kind of admittedly underwhelming.
Jimenez is such a funny player. I mean, he'll always have value because of defense, but like when you think that, damn, his bat is so bad, he'll just randomly hit like a 420-foot home run. It's like, oh, okay, I guess you can do that.
Or the other night when he had the game-tying hit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, wait, I forgot. This guy actually can use his bat sometimes.
Yeah, I remember, dude, me and my friend, we were at the Canada game where Max Fried was pitching that game, right? And I remember it was 2 guys on, and he comes up, and I'm saying to my friend, I'm like, yeah, this is chalked. Like, it's end of the inning. It's 2-1. Let's just go to the next inning. And then he fucking cranks it to center field. And then all of a sudden it's 4-2. And then me and my friend were like, yeah, we've never said anything bad about him in our lives.
If you were to show someone like a highlight tape of Andres Jimenez that includes, you know, his big plays, so his defense, his cock shots, all that, you would think he's a top 5 player in the sport, maybe.
You remember when Simeon was here and we every time home run he would be saying "come shot"?
Yeah, I have a friend who was recording a YouTube video, and you know how sometimes Twitter would randomly send random tweets even if you don't have notifications on for the person?
Yeah.
Recording a video, and their phone literally just sent a tweet from me, and it was on the YouTube video saying, it just fucking shows it to the camera, and it's my tweet that just says "come shot," nothing else.
But yeah, man, if you told me that this team was going to be this good with those two players, they have combined for 0.3 WAR, by the way. I just want to put it out there. Or actually, it's a 0.2. Sorry, it's 0.2 WAR. Jimenez, 1.1 WAR. Santander's negative 0.9. If you told me that those two were going to combine for that amount of WAR for the whole season, I would literally just assume our season was done by the end of June. Like, we had already traded everybody. Bo was gone. Gosman was gone. Bassett, Scherzer, Guerrero, everyone was traded. Everyone was gone. Fire sale. I would not have expected this team to be anywhere near the tied for the 3rd best record in baseball, right?
Yeah, and it's at the point where it's like, is this like, it's kind of not even feeling real still.
It isn't, to be totally for real. And here's another thing is, they've had a lot of pitchers kind of underperform what you would have hoped for this season. Barrios and Bassett have been really iffy this year. I think their ERA, I think Bassett, at least his ERA is like lower than it was last year. But there have been a lot of iffiness from guys in the rotation. Also, actually, you know what? You could throw this player I'm about to mention into my very first one about like old guys shooting back the clock. Kevin
Scherzer.
fucking Gausman, bro. And,
Oh.
you know what, Scherzer too, but Gausman too, man. Gausman had never been like bad or washed or looked like he was completely cooked. But he, like, in the past year, like, he's got it again. Like, last year he looked like, oh, we might see a little bit of a decline, and then the first good chunk of the season, I think you would probably agree with me, he didn't look like he was an ace anymore. He looked like he was maybe like more like a 4-starter, maybe a 3. And now he's looking like a 1-starter again.
Exactly.
Like, he's
I mean,
back.
the past, however, like 5 starts or something have been magical. Just so much fun to watch. The performance today,
Complete game shutout.
complete game shutout, 100 pitches on the dot. I mean, that fires me up. I mean, you know, that was the thing a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the rotation for the postseason being a question mark. If Gausman keeps pitching like this, the solution's coming within itself. So
there was a point in the season where his ERA was over 4.5, and like it wasn't looking too great for him, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and just the stuff he's been saying about how he feels good and when he's on. Like, he's one of those guys who are a big game pitcher, where when the moments are getting tougher, he steps up, he delivers. It's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, and yeah, he's been one of those guys, man. Yeah, and yeah, there have been a lot of like weird question marks / flaws with this team. They've like really weird weaknesses coming out of nowhere, and they've still just kind of been insane because their lineup has just been that good, and everyone else has been good when they need to be. That I think probably they might be the most surprising team this year. I'd say more than the Brewers, because I think the Brewers still had like, you know what, they can still be good. You know what I mean? They can still make up.
The Brewers were 100% expected to probably be a wild card team.
I don't know about expected to be a wild card team, because they definitely were projected to be a lot worse, given that like they lost like Willie Adames, who was a big contributor, and obviously other guys were getting better. I think most people would have penciled in. I had the Braves over them in the start of the season. I think I had the Brewers as like my team that was going to fall out of the playoffs. Given like I think it was pretty safe to say like the Cubs were probably going to jump them.
Yeah.
You know,
and yeah, as we speak, Aaron Judge has just hit home run 360, and he's one shy of DiMaggio for number 4 in Yankees history. Wow!
Look at that! Look at him. So inspirational, man. Also, you see, Volpe was apparently playing through a torn labrum.
I did see that.
Or like partially torn. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
That's an interesting one, man. He yeah, they said they MRI'd him and it showed a little bit more of a tear, but like nothing that would like have him go on the IL or something he can't play through. And apparently it's been like since May. He's been playing through a partially torn labrum almost the entire season.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of crazy.
Which would explain, his kind of fall off in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
that's a little rad. It's a little radical, right?
Yeah, there. Good for him for powering through and
yeah.
But
listen,
I don't know whose choice it is to play through it. Maybe I shouldn't.
I was gonna say, yeah, man. Shout out to him. Even if it's, we troll all the time on here. We like to troll a little bit, but unironically, going out there all the time. Respect. Even whether
100%.
whether you should or you shouldn't. Maybe you should take a little bit of rest, but you know what? Respect. Is there anything else you want to mention in terms of like?
I think that's good to end off on.
Yeah, a little bit of a shorter episode today. We are just approaching the hour and 50-minute mark. So our shortest episode, but yeah, these are a lot of our big surprises of the season. More like general type of things. Obviously, some of these are a little more specific, but yeah, these are our biggest surprises so far this season. And again, whatever happens in the next. Oh, sorry. What do you want to say?
I have actually a big surprise this season.
What is it?
I haven't doxed an umpire.
Ooh, that's a big one. Actually, you know what? I have one more. The podcast made it out the group chat. The group chat. Those are the two surprises.
Not that I condone doxing umpires. I'm not saying I do that. I'm just saying.
I feel like I haven't seen nearly as many. Because listen, we used to listen. Umpire was shitting the bed. You'd see his house on Twitter. Do you remember?
Yeah, like
you-
I'm not confirming nor denying that I've ever tweeted out the house of an umpire. I'm not confirming nor denying.
Do you remember when people would post the Microsoft Flight Sim videos of them crashing into the
Oh
team
my
stadiums?
god. Oh my god.
You remember that?
Pleasing, dude.
M
Those are
pleasing,
awesome.
man. Oh my god.
Shout out him.
Shout out M.
Follow him on Twitter.
Shout out
What an
M.
account.
Shout out M pleasing, man. I don't think he has that anymore. I don't remember what his ad is, but M pleasing, man. What a guy. What an account. Oh man. But anyways, I think that's where we're gonna end it for today. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. No matter how much of the podcast you listen to, whether it was the full hour 50 or whether it was just a couple minutes, we thank you for listening at all. Any bit means a lot. And yeah, we only have a couple more episodes remaining before the end of the season. We only have 2 more before the end of the regular season. We have next week, and then we have the week after, and then the regular season ends on Sunday the 28th. And then it's playoff time. It's playoff time in just a couple of weeks, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see how some of these races turn out, because some of them are really close too. Like, some of them have gotten closer. Like, the Rangers are on that ass right now. They're a game and a half out. They're on that ass. Not just for the wildcard spot. They're low-key on that ass for the division. They're 2.5 out. But, you know, we'll see how all that ends up playing out. The NL East obviously is a really close race too. The NL West is relatively close. You know, we'll see how things turn out, though. We'll see how things turn out. But anyways, again, thank you all for listening. We will see you once again next week. We hope everyone takes care, and have a good rest of your day, night, evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this, wherever. Take care, everyone.